more on this. Let's turn now to TRT World's health correspondent, Nicola Hill, who joins me live now from London. Nicola, why is ventilation so important?
Basically, because when we breathe out, if we've got SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, we're going to expel particles of the virus. And if people are close by, they can inhale it. It's like you just said then. If you can smell what somebody's had for lunch. It's the garlic breath analogy used by Dr. Julian Tang, who is one of the authors of this research published in the BMJ. He says if you can distinguish what someone's been eating, then you're too close and you're potentially breathing in what they're breathing out. And as I said, if they've got the virus, that's not good news. And it's interesting they publish this research because if you remember, Rachel, a lot of the focus has been very much on surfaces. Making sure that we clean the surfaces, fear that we can transmit the virus via touch. I mean, I know last year my postman was telling me that his wife would wash down the packets of soap powder when they came back from the supermarket just in case there was any virus on the boxes. A lot of people were doing that, or they were actually quarantining their post. But what Dr. Tang and his team are saying is that that's much less likely to transmit the virus. It's this airborne spread that they need to prioritise. And there was actually a study that was last year that showed that you were 19 times more likely to be infected by somebody indoors with very poor ventilation than you were if you were outdoors.
This is all really interesting. So what should we be doing? Should we be opening all our windows at work and at home? Is that the solution?
Very much so. That's exactly what we should be doing. Dr. Tang's analogy is the burnt toast. He said if you burn the toast in the kitchen, you open the windows, you open the back door, it dissipates very, very quickly. And that's what the same thing can happen with this virus. So you should have your windows open. Be outside as much as possible. For example, my gym has reopened this week. We've had lockdown restrictions have lifted here in the UK. My gym has reopened, but a lot of our classes are outside. So I was doing Zumba on a football pitch last night, which I felt a lot safer surrounded by 20 people outside than I would be inside a dance studio. And that's because a lot of buildings are not necessarily designed with the right type of ventilation. They might just be recirculating the same air. And it's really important that buildings now have much better air conditioning or heating systems so that it is fresh air that's coming in and not just recirculated air. And the other thing Dr. Tang and his team are saying is the masks that we wear. They're great because obviously we're wearing one to protect other people, but you need to make sure that you've got the right type of mask, one that really doesn't allow for the leakage of air from behind. And for example, those visors that people wear, that's not enough because obviously the air is still coming from underneath.
I'm wondering about the solution of opening the windows, which is a very simple solution. But I remember over the winter here in Istanbul, being at work, and someone would come in and open up the window, and then it got very cold in the newsroom, and people would complain, and then they'd close the window. I mean, how realistic is it to be having the windows open in the winter when it's cold, and then in the summer when it's hot, and you'd rather have the air conditioning on?
Well, realistically, you need the window open, and that's what Dr. Tang and his team are saying. If somebody's actually in an unventilated room with the windows closed, no ventilation, and there's somebody there who's got the virus, the other people, if they're not vaccinated, are very likely to be infected, 19 times more likely. So it is a question of either having a much better air conditioning or heating system that is bringing that fresh air in, or basically just having those windows open and dressing accordingly. Wear an extra layer in the winter and have cooler linens and silks in the summer. I know that sounds very simple, but if that's going to prevent you getting this virus, then it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I love that it is actually a very simple solution. Thanks for that, Nicola Hill in London.